here. Every time there is an eclipse, people lose their ever-loving mind. Isn't that right? I'm covered in cat hair. Without fail, I get dozens of messages asking if it's okay to manifest with the eclipse, if you can charge water under the eclipse, if you should go to a job interview, if you should go outside. People just want to know the do's and don'ts of eclipses, so that is what this video is. Welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel if you're new around here. My name is Hannah Hawthorne and I'm Simply Witched. I am a pagan witch and I practice primarily traditional Hellenistic astrology with a few modern techniques sprinkled in. So this video is going to be from an astrological, magical perspective. This is not a video telling you what you have to do on eclipses, but rather to provide context so you can make that decision for yourself. First, what is an eclipse? An eclipse is a celestial event in which the sun, moon, and earth align in such a way that it obstructs light. There are two types of eclipses, solar and lunar, and within those there are a bunch of different subsects, but I figure that not many people care about the scientific reasoning behind eclipses, though if you are interested and you want to hear about this from a more astronomical sense, I do have a book called The Magic of Birthdays that has a section about eclipses and goes in really in depth. In this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff that I cover in here, but there is definitely more information in the book if you are interested. During a solar eclipse, it is sun, moon, earth, and it is dark outside during the daytime. The sun's light is destroyed. During a lunar eclipse, the moon's light is destroyed, and it is moon, sun, earth, and the moon glows red at night, or some other strange color. It is very creepy. Our ancestors were terrified of these events, and rightfully so. Imagine being the first person to see the sun disappear. That could not have been a pleasant experience. Historically, eclipses have been seen as life-sucking malefic omens, and when I say this, sometimes I am accused of fear-mongering, but this is just a fact. Our ancestors did their best to justify what was happening to them, and they created legends of despair and disaster surrounding eclipses. This is why every culture and tradition around the world has stories of angry sun gods destroying the sun or animals devouring it. Now, obviously today we know why eclipses happen and how they're harmless, but for me, that history holds weight and it informs my practice. A solar eclipse takes place on the new moon, while a lunar eclipse takes place on the full moon. They're essentially taking the energy of that lunar phase and amplifying it, but they are also catalysts. Eclipses are not one single isolated event, they are a domino effect. Solar eclipses are a major beginning and lunar eclipses are a major ending, but they are also worldly events. They are not usually one event taking place in your chart. They could be, but more often than not, you are just going to feel the effects of that worldly event in your life. Eclipse cycles happen every 6 months, and often they align with the most pivotal events of the year. An eclipse cycle is 2 weeks long, and during that time we get 2 eclipses, one solar and one lunar. Then we have a 6-month break, and then we get another solar and lunar eclipse. And these two groups are connected. Both of the eclipses are always in the same 2 signs, and the story is connected. The cycle we just finished was a solar eclipse in Scorpio and a lunar eclipse in Taurus. We had the beginning set of these eclipses in April and May of last year, which is where the story began. And we just finished the set in October, November, the last one being November 8th, and that is where their energy was reactivated. As most of you may know, November 8th was the US midterms, which is a really good example of how eclipses work and what kind of significant dates they fall on. So to get a little predictive for a second, it was a lunar eclipse, so it has to do with endings, but lunar eclipses are also associated in bringing things to light. Like I said, that lunar eclipse was in Taurus, which is a sign that is all about money, finances, but also the literal ground that we walk on. So we can probably expect to see this eclipse manifest in a way that is relating to endings, bringing things to light, money, finances, and the literal ground that we walk on. Lunar eclipses in Taurus are also really heavily associated with natural disaster, and for me personally, I'm in Florida and we have a hurricane approaching that began November 8th. Now obviously the two events that I just gave are happening in the US. That is only because I live in the US and they're just two examples that just came to mind. But like I said, eclipses are worldly events. I want to talk about the fear associated with them and hopefully give you a little peace of mind. An eclipse is not one horrible single event that happens to you. It's not like you're gonna leave your house and immediately get into a car accident because there's an eclipse. You definitely can see this in your life, but it wouldn't be you getting into a car accident one single event. It would be you meet a stranger who you will later marry on an eclipse. Or maybe like instead of getting fired, which is something that people are worried about, like I'm gonna have this one thing happen to me, like maybe I'm gonna get fired on the day of the eclipse. Instead of getting fired, it would be like the company you work for files bankruptcy on this day, you don't know, but then later down the line, they close, you lose your job, and you move into a completely new industry. It goes back to eclipses being destructive and transformational. They are not good and bad. These words are far too simple. They are challenging. They force you into growth. If you read tarot, it's kind of like they create a tower moment. And also I want to say, because I am talking about predictive astrology, astrology is not making anything happen. Astrology is a mirror. It is just reflecting the fact that it is happening. It is not an excuse to be a terrible person or escape moral responsibility, and it is not, for example, making the hurricane happen outside. But a hurricane is happening outside, and a lunar eclipse in Taurus checks out. The stars just really be starring. Anyway, now that we've talked about eclipses in an astrological sense, let's talk about magic. For all the reasons I just gave and more, I do not work with eclipse energy in my practice. The energy of an eclipse is destructive, it is chaotic, and it is uncontrollable. Could you work with that energy? Yes. Could you harness it and cast a spell with it? Yes. But to me, a good analogy for working with eclipse energy would be like going outside in a thunderstorm and trying to paint your house. You absolutely could do it. Would water be running down and wiping off all of the paint that you were putting up? Yes. I just don't really see a point because you don't have much control where you are sending the energy. So it doesn't make sense to purposely manipulate it. This is something that I've experimented with in my own practice, and I encourage you to do the same. Test it out. I don't think anything bad is going to happen to you. It's not that. It's just there are more effective times that you could cast spells. Cast a spell that doesn't matter if it goes wrong. Put it in your grimoire, write it down, and then keep track of what happens in that situation. I recommend doing something really insignificant, but you can still see change. Like I said, I don't think anything bad is gonna happen, but I think you might be unpleasantly surprised if it does not turn out the way you want it to. So that's kind of my thought. What is the point? There's a thunderstorm out. Why are you painting the house? If you are looking for something to do, there are definitely magical things you can do, and I'm gonna read them directly from my book. Eclipses were something that I definitely wanted to put in my book because I get so many questions about them. I just figured it would be a good thing to include because I don't see it in a lot of astrology books. And if you're unfamiliar with the magic of birthdays, this is an astrological magical book. So it has witchcraft, it has astrology, and like this video will come with the perspective of both. Hello, where are you? Eclipses are a great time to introspect and sit in receptivity with the universe. Allow yourself to be open to what it has to offer and focus your energy on more reflective revenues. Meditate, journal, practice divination, chant mantras, take a ritual bath, or cleanse. Unless you purposely want to create chaotic energy, I wouldn't use this time to set intentions. Charging something like a talisman or water under the eclipse will also imbue it with that same energy. Therefore, unless you were trying to make a bottle of chaos, I'd avoid that. Now, I've never done this, but to me, the only magic that makes sense to work under an eclipse is baneful magic. I don't even really want to go there because I don't know if I can talk about this on YouTube. If you really wanted to terrorize somebody, an eclipse could be a powerful ally. But again, you would be giving up all control to the outcome, in my personal opinion. So it is not for me, but that is the only type of working that uses traditional astrological symbolism that would make sense to do, in my personal opinion. Ultimately, you can do whatever you want to do on an eclipse, and I encourage you to feel this out. Feel the energy, sit with an eclipse energy, and notice if you get a headache. Do you get a stomach ache? Trust your intuition and do what feels best for you. In my opinion, practicing during this time just feels more pointless than anything. Because in my experience, eclipse energy is just gonna suppress anything that it could possibly put out into the universe. They're like celestial atomic bombs fueling us in a different direction, and you just have to go with it. They're not bad. You don't have anything to be fearful of. They happen 4 times a year at least, and you have been just fine thus far, and you will continue to be. Life is just gonna change like it always does. I also cannot disregard hundreds of years of established human history and folklore surrounding eclipses. That is my main qualm with modern astrology and witchcraft intermixed with astrology when it's not super informed of the system it was based upon. There's a lot within modern astrology that breaks the fundamental system of astrology, and if you have read my book, you've heard my qualms about this. That is all I have for you today. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification to be notified every time I post. To keep up with me between uploads, there's a link down below to all my other platforms, as well as to buy my book and to join my Discord. That is all I have for you today, so until next time, have a magical rest of your day, blessed be, and goodbye, everyone.